you know which way it's gonna go? Well, heck, head on over to Sports Interaction, you, the silliest of geese. When the puck drops, which is soon, Sports Interaction has you covered pregame, live betting on all major sports, and prop bets. Wanna bet? Then head to sportsinteraction.com/STPN. That's sportsinteraction.com/STPN. 19 plus. Please play responsibly. I ran out of air. And I think the reason that I ran out of air is Auston Matthews is a Leaf! Dude, you know what? My reaction to this is it's a time capsule. It is a time capsule of how we all felt, not just in this little month, in this day in particular. Jeff Marek, Elliot Friedman, they're all over there, and I think it's Sweden, and they're talking to a bunch of NHL players over there. I think there must be some like European media tour. Like Barkov was in there, and then they get to William Nylander, and Nylander's talking about his contract extension, and he's in there, and he's got the Nylander beanie on, and he's got some outlandish Nylander pants, and he's got his Nylander attitude, talking about I'm not that worried about my little extension. I don't understand why people talk about it so much. Like, you're laying it on a little thick, William. And that's relevant. It's relevant and important because this summer, as we approach the beginning of the hockey season, as we approach training camps and preseason and all of that, you smell that? It's just a different feeling in the air. All the people that I've been speaking to, especially over the last week or two, people who make their money on hockey, people who are just big hockey fans, they don't make a dime off the thing, they just love it. Everyone is chomping at the bit for this season. I don't know, maybe it's because we got an actual proper summer. None of these seasons that started way late, seasons that ended way late, seasons that had to get interrupted and condensed and just morphed and mutilated. This was the first quote-unquote normal summer that we've had in a long time, and it just so happened to feature the Leafs firing their GM and then hiring another one. Which, come to think of it, before Kyle Dubas was pretty par for the course. They were bad for a very long time and fired everybody often, and they were good in the regular season for a very long time, and now there's a new guy. And hey, what a deal, new guy! Toronto Maple Leafs general manager Brad Treliving signs Auston Matthews to a 4-year $13.25 million per season contract. I wanted to start off with a tweet. I love when people break things down in the simplest of ways. Here's acting a foolaman. It's good to sign the best player in the history of the franchise to an extension, in my opinion. I think ultimately that's the right move here. You know what? You're right, and you should say it. Listen, Nylander not having that contract done and everything, yeah, we're gonna talk about it. It's gonna be a thing, but it's not this. If William Nylander walks from the Toronto Maple Leafs for nothing, it's gonna be bad. It's not great. And it'll be a scramble to replace him, and what are they gonna do? Leafs lose Auston Matthews for nothing. It is a dramatically different conversation. Now, wait, you might say if you're a Leafs hater. This isn't an 8-year contract. No, it's not, and that would have been great. Except it wouldn't have been great because on a 4-year contract, Auston Matthews is making $3.25 million. Well, Steve, if he was signed to an 8-year contract, that number would go down because when a contract goes longer, the cap hit goes down because it's an exchange. Hey, we give you more job security, more security with your contract, more actual money, but you sacrifice money per year. And that is indeed how it used to work. It doesn't work like that right now. The reason it doesn't work like that right now is the NHL is way down here. Like, my hands are off screen right now when it comes to the other North American sports. On top of that, though, the cap was going up. It was going up and players were making more money. And you might have noticed that a guy named Kyle Dubas, who is not the general manager here anymore, he signed players. He signed William Nylander and Mitch Marner and even Auston Matthews. And they were rich deals. And we said, oof, those are rich deals. And you got John Tavares too. Those are rich deals. But it will be stomachable because the cap is going up. And then what happened? The world stopped. I know I've said it a million times, but it's super relevant. Because of the hard cap, the extremely hard cap in the National Hockey League, finances are extremely relevant to the conversation. And one of the most relevant global events of our lifetimes, that fits. And because of that, the cap stayed flat and like barely went up. in the years that followed. And those deals that were supposed to age well didn't age the greatest because the cap never went up. Now the cap is going up in the expected years. Next year, the year after, and then it's supposed to take like a cartoonish jump unless something awful happens again. So, pretend you're a superstar player. I have an opportunity to, I'm the franchise star. I can sign wherever I want for whatever I want. And I got two deals in front of me. I got a deal that is going to pay me $13.25 million per season for 4 years, or $13 million a season for 8 years. You throw the 8-year contract in the garbage because the cap is soaring up in the years to come. So they say. I'm skeptical on account of it's the National Hockey League and Gary Bettman has been in charge since 1993 and he's going to be in charge for the foreseeable future. Life is unending pain. I do find it very interesting that on the exact same day, Bill Daly from the NHL announced that it sounded like things were going in the right direction for an agreement for a World Cup every few years. It's going to go World Cup, then Olympics every 2 years is what it sounds like. I find it very interesting that that got announced today, and all of a sudden the Leafs got Matthews done today. They're not necessarily connected, but it sounds like maybe the collective bargaining agreement and stuff along those lines is heading in the right direction. Fingers crossed. But if I'm Auston Matthews, I look at the fact that the cap is going to go up and I say, okay, I sign a 4-year contract now at 13.25. Let's assume I continue to flirt with and even marry 50 goals a season or more. If I continue to be like a top 5 goal scorer in this league consistently for the next 5 years, because remember the Leafs still have him at 1 more year at 11.634. 34. If I am consistently one of the top 5 goal scorers in the game for the next 5 years, what do you think my next contract is going to be? I'm going to sign for another 4 years, except it's going to be 15, 16, 17, 18 maybe. That is why the contract is 4 years, because if the Leafs wanted Matthews at 8 years, and Chris Johnston has been banging this drum for a long time, it's going to cost a lot of money. 14 per year, 15, 16, and this is before the cap takes a significant jump. I don't think it would have benefited the Toronto Maple Leafs at all to lock Matthews up to an 8-year deal, because that's what it would have cost. And a very interesting point from Kevin Papetti, who found a 2019 tweet from Chris Johnston talking about the Matthews extension that he signed back then, because remember, that was a 5-year contract and we were uncomfortable with it. We didn't like it that much because what if he walks after just 5? You gotta lock him up to 8. This is what the tweet said. This is from February 5th, 2019. The Auston Matthews ask on an 8-year extension was in the range of Connor McDavid's 16.67% of the cap hit. So roughly a $13.8 million AAV based on the projected cap of $83 million. The Leafs delayed more than $2 million AAV per for 5 seasons, but we'll have to negotiate again with Matthews at age 26 to do it. So again, I'm going to point out that something rather relevant happened between that contract getting signed and today. The world stopped. So all illusions of here's what I'm going to make in a few years for pro athletes, especially hockey players, went out the window. But Matthews, over the course of this 4-year extension, is going to make less per season than he was asking for an 8-year deal in 2019. So very rare and actually kind of unfortunate set of circumstances, but that number ended up working out great for the Leafs organization. And remember, that number was 16.67% of the cap. From Dom Lucian of The Athletic, 15.1% of the cap for Matthews, if the cap indeed goes up to $87.5 million, is really, really good. So that's how it works out for the Maple Leafs. Here's how it could work out for Matthews and the Maple Leafs. Because if he continues to be the superstar that he has been, at the end of his 4-year extension, which I'm going to remind you again is in 5 years because he's got another year left on this deal, if that continues, then he can ask for even more, 15, 16, whatever it is, once this next contract is up. Keeping in mind that he'll be in his 30s when that happens. Listen, I want Matthews to be a Leaf for life. I want him to be a superstar for life. And I want him to win many, many cups here. Shut up, stop laughing. But if things don't work out, or if he gets injuries, or if all the things that come with being a professional athlete in your 30s, are you really going to want to have him locked up to something like $15 million for basically the entire lower half of his 30s? At the end of this contract, it might make sense for both Matthews and the Leafs to walk away. Might. Again, we don't know what the future holds. That is half a decade away, and I hate the cap for what it has done to the discourse, because here's what it should be doing. And you know what? I'm the discourse. This is my YouTube channel. No one tells me what to say, so here's what I'm going to tell you. The Leafs have probably their best player ever. Certainly their only one to ever score 40 goals as a rookie. Their only player to ever score 60 goals in a season. A player who finally got a taste of the second round. Pause for laughter, I know, but it was some progress. The Leafs have signed this player 5 years into the future. One more year at $11.634 million, and then 4 more years with the cap going up, each of those 4 years at $13.25. Now, on the podcast, in some of my grumpier days, after the Leafs were eliminated from the playoffs, I was talking about, it'd be nice if Matthews didn't have to be the highest paid player in the league, because now he is, right? This season he won't be. That's still McDavid 12.5, Nathan McKinnon 12.6, but when this contract kicks in, Matthews is going to be making 13.25. Would it be great to get him to less than that? Sure, but did I think he was going to sign for more than that? Yeah. Also, if the cap does continue to go up the way people are projecting that it's going to go up, I don't think he's going to be the highest paid player for very long. McDavid doesn't have a ton of time left on his deal. Leon Draisaitl, I believe, has even less. That'll be fun. I was worried about this number being outlandish. I don't think it is. It'll be less outlandish next year when it kicks in than it is today. Because again, the cap is going to go up. It'll be less outlandish in year 2, and in year 3, and in year 4, assuming all parties involved stay healthy. I've had some people reach out like, what does this mean for Marner's next contract? Dude, let's enjoy this for a second. Let's at least talk about a guy who has a contract that's expiring, and that's Nylander. I don't know if he's sticking around, man. Tavares, if you wanted to trade him, full no move. Marner, if you wanted to trade him, full no move. Matthews, you just re-sign him. He ain't going anywhere. William Nylander is reportedly asking for in the neighborhood of $10.25 or $10 million. If something's got to give, unfortunately, I think that's the thing that gives. But that's another problem for another day. Here's the solution for at very least the next half decade. Auston Matthews signs a 4-year extension. And if you cheer for the Toronto Maple Leafs, and if you like the best player on the Toronto Maple Leafs, that's good news. More good news. Steve Dangle podcast tomorrow. Me, Adam, and Jesse are going to come back from our summer break a little early to record a special episode tomorrow. Steve, I can't wait for tomorrow. And I just finished this video. What am I supposed to do? I have an answer for you. Brand new Chris Johnston show. Oh yeah. CJ, Julian McKenzie, and producer Nick. They got a new show with all the juicy little details of Auston Matthews and a little bit more. So, you like content? I said you like content! SDPN, baby. SDPN. All day, every day, forever. For now, that is it for this one. Thank you very much for watching. Click like if you like this video. Click subscribe if you really liked it. Tell all your friends, Auston Matthews is a Leaf!